My sister mocked me the second she saw me walk into my parents' kitchen. I hadn't even set my bag down. I was still in uniform, still running on airport coffee and 2 hours of sleep. I'd flown in late the night before, drove straight from base housing to my childhood home, and I was trying to do the nice daughter thing. Show up, smile, pretend everything was normal. Jade looked me up and down like I was a walking paycheck. Then she smirked and said, "Must be nice having money while your family struggles." Not even a hello. No. How was the drive? No. Did you eat? Just straight to the point, like she'd been practicing it in the mirror. My mom, Diane, was at the stove stirring gravy like she didn't hear it. My dad, Ron, was at the table scrolling his phone like it was suddenly the most interesting thing in America. And me, I stood there, holding a store-bought pie like an idiot. I'm Sergeant Lila Hart. I'm 28. I'm in the U.S. military, and I'm good at my job. Not movie good. Not I kick down doors and save the world by lunch. I'm good in the way that actually matters. I show up early, I do the work. I keep my mouth shut, and I don't make problems for my chain of command. I'm not rich. I don't have a yacht. I don't have some secret crypto fortune. I have a steady paycheck, decent benefits, and the kind of budget that would make most people yawn. But back home, that's basically the same thing as being a billionaire. Especially to Jade. She's 26 and has been finding herself since high school. That's the nice way to say she can't keep a job longer than a carton of milk lasts in our parents' fridge. 1 month, she's going to start a boutique candle business. The next month, she's a content creator. The month after that, she's taking a mental health break from all the pressure of not working. Meanwhile, I've been the boring one since forever. The kid who did homework without being asked. The one who got a part-time job at 16 and didn't spend every dollar on fast food and eyeliner. The one who joined the military because I wanted out of our town and I wanted something stable. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud: stability makes you a target. Jade's comment wasn't just a joke. It was a demand dressed up as sarcasm. In our family, that's how it works. You don't ask. You imply. You guilt. You act like the other person is selfish until they cave. I set the pie on the counter and said, "Morning to you too." Jade shrugged like she'd just commented on the weather. I'm just saying, some of us don't have it so easy. Easy. I looked down at my uniform like it was going to answer for me. My mom finally turned from the stove. Lila, honey, you look tired. I almost laughed. That was her version of a hug. A comment about how worn out you look. Then a quick pivot to whatever she actually wants. Dad cleared his throat. Long drive. Long week, I said. Jade leaned against the counter and picked at her nails. They were freshly done, of course. Glossy. Perfect. The kind you get when you have time for appointments in the middle of a Tuesday. So how much do you even make now? She asked. I stared at her. Why? She rolled her eyes. Relax, I'm just curious. That's another family tradition. I'm just curious means I'm about to use this against you. I didn't answer. I walked past her to the sink and washed my hands like I was buying myself 10 seconds to stay calm. Because here's what people don't understand about being the responsible one. You don't get credit for it. You get assigned more responsibility. Like it's your natural habitat. Growing up, if Jade forgot her lunch, I split mine with her. If she accidentally maxed out her debit card on clothes, my parents would ask me to cover something small because I was the one who could handle it. When I got a scholarship, they celebrated. When Jade dropped classes, they consoled her. When I joined the military, they acted proud in public, but in private, it became a new category of leverage. Well, you get housing money, right? My mom would say. And bonuses, my dad would add, like he'd personally negotiated my contract. Jade would nod like she was taking notes for a business plan. They never said, "We're proud you made something of yourself." They said, "You're doing fine so you can help." And I did, for years. Not constantly. Not like I was handing her stacks of cash every weekend. But enough. Phone bill here, insurance there. A couple hundred just until Friday. And Friday would come and go like a myth. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself family is family. I told myself I didn't want to be the kind of person who abandons people. But that morning in my parents' kitchen, with Jade smirking, and my parents pretending not to notice, something in me tightened. Not snapped, not exploded, tightened, like a belt pulling one notch too far. Mom poured coffee and slid a mug toward me. "We're glad you came home," she said. Dad nodded. "Yeah, good to have you." Jade didn't move, so she said, Are you still doing that thing where you save up for a house? I froze just a little. I hadn't posted about it. I hadn't told my parents details. I'd mentioned it months ago in a quick phone call, the way you share good news with people you assume are happy for you. Apparently that was a mistake. I kept my face neutral. Eventually, Jade smiled like she'd been waiting for that word. Must be nice, she repeated softer this time. Thinking about buying a house while the rest of us are out here struggling, my dad finally looked up from his phone. Jade, he said. But it wasn't a warning. It was the kind of weak little sound people make when they don't want conflict. My mom did the mom thing where she tries to soften a knife by wrapping it in a compliment. Your sister's just been stressed, honey. You know she's had a hard time. Jade's hard time was mostly self-inflicted, but I didn't say that. I'd learned the hard way that facts don't beat feelings in this house. I took a sip of coffee. It was too hot, and it tasted like old guilt. What's going on? I asked, because I knew this wasn't just a random comment. Jade never joked without a reason. Dad set his phone down. Well, he said slowly, your sister's been in a rough patch. Jade cut in fast. My landlord's being a jerk. My car's acting up. And it's not like jobs are just falling into my lap. I looked at her. Are you working right now? She blinked like I'd asked her to solve calculus. I'm in between things. Dad leaned back. She had a toxic situation at her last job. It wasn't good for her. Jade nodded hard. It was killing my mental health. Mom stepped closer, voice gentle. We were just thinking. Maybe you could help her get back on her feet. There it was. The real reason I was here. Not the pie. Not the family time. The pitch. Dad added, just for a little bit. Jade gave me the tiniest smile, like she already knew the answer was yes. And I could feel the old habit in my chest, the automatic instinct to fix it, to smooth it over, to keep the peace. But I also felt something new. Not rage, not drama. Just a clear, quiet thought. If I say yes again, this never ends. Right then Jade's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I caught the screen reflection. A notification from a salon. Appointment confirmed. She looked up and caught me noticing. Her smile didn't even flinch. Come on, she said, sweet as syrup. You're doing so well. Must be nice. If you're into stories like this family drama that turns into real consequences, drop a quick comment telling me what you would have said in my place and hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest. I set my mug down carefully so it wouldn't rattle. How much? I asked. Jade's eyes lit up. It's not even that bad, just Dad jumped in like he didn't want her to sound greedy. A couple thousand to catch her up. Rent, utilities, maybe some car stuff. A couple thousand, I repeated, because hearing it out loud always makes it sound worse. Mom gave me that disappointed look like I was already failing. Lila, you have a good heart. Don't harden it now. Jade leaned closer, lowering her voice like we were sharing a secret. You don't want everyone thinking you forgot where you came from. I stared at my sister, at her perfect nails. Her calm confidence, the way she could ask for thousands, like it was a favor I owed her. Then I looked at my parents, waiting quiet like my answer was supposed to keep the whole house standing. I took a breath. Not to calm down. To choose. I kept my face still, but my stomach did that slow drop it always does when I realize I'm being cornered. I could have said no right there. Clean, simple, one syllable. But in that kitchen with my mom's guilt and my dad's silence and Jade's little smile, no never stays simple. It becomes a trial. A character assassination. A whole thing. So I asked the safest question first. What happened to the money you already had? Jade's eyebrows shot up like I'd insulted her religion. Seriously. Dad answered for her because of course he did. She's been trying to manage Lila. It's been one thing after another. Like what I asked. Mom wiped her hands on a dish towel and gave me the soft voice. Car repairs, groceries, bills. You know how expensive everything is now. Jade leaned back against the counter. Also, my landlord raised rent. It's not my fault. I nodded slowly. Okay, and what's the plan after I pay this couple thousand? Jade laughed sharp and quick. Oh my God, you're doing the interrogation thing. It's not an interrogation, I said. It's me trying to understand what changes. Dad's jaw tightened. It's just to get her caught up. That phrase, get her caught up. Like she was a train that slipped off the tracks, and I was the tow truck. Mom stepped closer, like she could physically push me into agreement. Honey, you've always been the steady one. You've always been able to handle things. I looked at her. That's not a plan. Jade tossed her hair. My plan is to get back on my feet. You said that last time, I said before I could stop myself. Silence landed hard. Mom's eyes narrowed. Dad's mouth flattened. Jade's smile didn't disappear, but it changed shape. Wow, Jade said slowly. So you've been keeping score. I've been paying bills, I said. That's not the same thing as keeping score. Dad pointed his finger at the table like he was laying down a rule. Family doesn't keep score. I almost laughed, but it came out as a breath through my nose. Family also doesn't treat one person like an emergency fund. Mom's face did that wounded expression she's mastered over decades. We didn't raise you to talk like that. And there it was. The moment it stops being about Jade's choices and becomes about my attitude. Like I'm the problem for noticing the pattern. Jade stepped forward, voice sweet again. Just say you don't care about us. It's easier. I care, I said. I just don't want to be the solution to problems that never end. Dad's phone buzzed, and he glanced down at it like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mom crossed her arms. Jade watched me like she was waiting for me to break. I could feel the old reflex, the one that says, pay it and leave. Pay it and go back to base. Pay it and this kitchen goes back to pretending. But then I thought about my calendar, the training schedule, the extra duty, the paperwork for my next evaluation, the fact that I'd been building my credit carefully because I wanted to buy a small house near where I was stationed. A boring, normal life that belongs to me. A couple $1,000s wasn't going to bankrupt me. The real cost was what it taught them. So I didn't promise anything. I kept it neutral. I'm not making a decision right now. Jade's eyes flashed. Of course you're not. I picked up my keys. I'm going to get some air. Dad stood halfway from his chair. Lila, don't make this dramatic. I turned back. I'm not. I'm just not saying yes on command. Outside, the March air was cold and clean. I walked down the driveway like I was walking off a tightrope. Behind me, I could hear Jade's voice through the kitchen window, low and sharp, and my mom's softer one trying to calm her down. I got in my car and sat there for a full minute, hands on the steering wheel, not starting it. Just breathing. Because here's the part nobody tells you. When you're the responsible sibling, you don't just say no. You unlearn a whole identity. I drove to the little park near the high school. Same benches, same worn basketball court, same town pretending time doesn't move. I stared at my phone and like clockwork messages started rolling in. From Jade first, so you're really gonna do this to me. Then from Mom, please don't let this come between you and your sister. Then Dad, call me when you calm down. Calm down! Like I'd been screaming in the street. I didn't respond. I went back to my parents' house an hour later, smiled like a professional, ate dinner, and left before dessert. The next morning, I drove back toward base with that heavy feeling in my chest. Not sadness exactly, more like irritation mixed with dread. The kind of feeling you get when you know you just stepped onto a conveyor belt and you can't find the stop button. By lunchtime, Jade called. I almost ignored it, but I picked up because I wanted to see what she'd try. I put her on speaker while I ate in my car. No hello, I said. Oh, now you care about manners, she snapped. I care about not being used, I said. She made this little scoffing sound. You act like you're some victim. I'm asking for help. You're asking for a lot of help, I said. And you're asking like it's owed. It is owed, she said. And she didn't even realize how insane that sounded until it was out of her mouth. Then she doubled down. I'm your sister. That's not a payment plan, I said. She laughed like I was trying to be funny and failing. Wow. Military really turned you into a robot. No, I said. It turned me into someone who can follow a budget. Must be nice, she said again, dragging the words out. Having rules and structure, and a steady paycheck while your family struggles. My jaw clenched. Jade, you are not the family. You are you. Silence. Then her voice went cold. So you're better than me now. That's not what I said. It's what you mean, she snapped. You're sitting there in your little uniform, acting like you earned everything by yourself. Like Mom and Dad didn't help you. I blinked. Help me how? Oh my God, she said, like she couldn't believe I'd pretend. They let you live at home. They fed you. They supported you. That's parenting, I said. That's not alone. She hissed a laugh. You always do this. You twist everything so you can feel superior. I'm not trying to feel superior, I said. I'm trying to keep my life stable. She lowered her voice. You know what, fine, don't help. Just don't act surprised when people see you for who you are. I stared out the windshield at the parking lot. And who's that? A selfish person who forgot where she came from, she said. Must be nice. Then she hung up. I sat there with the call-ended phone still in my hand, and I felt something different than anger. Anger would have been easy. Anger means you still think you can win the argument. What I felt was clarity. I went back into work and finished my shift like nothing happened. That's the military part. You can be falling apart inside and still show up on time with your boots clean. That evening, after PT and paperwork, and the kind of day that makes you want to eat cereal for dinner, I checked my messages. Mom had left a voicemail. Her voice was calm, which is how I knew it was dangerous. "Lila, honey? I don't like how this is going. Your sister is really struggling. She's crying. Your father is upset. We raised you to take care of each other. Don't let money change you. Money change you. Not Jade's choices. Not my dad enabling her. Not my mom protecting the peace by asking me to pay for it. Money changed me." I deleted the voicemail. Then I opened Instagram because apparently I enjoy pain. Jade had posted a story. She was at a restaurant. A nice one. Cocktail glass. Candlelight. Big smile. The caption said, "Some people only love you when you're useful." I stared at it until the screen dimmed. My phone buzzed again, this time a text from Dad. "We need to talk. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder than it has to be." Like I was the one creating hardship by refusing to fund a lifestyle. I set my phone down and looked around my apartment. The cheap furniture, the neatly stacked mail, the calendar with my upcoming schedule highlighted. My life wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I knew what was coming next. Another call, another guilt trip, another just until, another family. And for the first time, I didn't feel scared of it. I felt tired of it. So I opened my banking app to check my balances just to ground myself in facts. And that's when a new charge popped up that made my throat go tight. An expense I didn't recognize listed under an account name I'd never seen before, and it wasn't a small one. I tapped the charge like it might explain itself if I stared hard enough. It didn't. It was a rideshare payment bigger than normal, followed by a food delivery charge, then another one from an online store I'd never used. All within the last hour. I was sitting on my couch in my own apartment, nowhere near a restaurant, nowhere near a rideshare, definitely not shopping. My first thought was simple, my card got skimmed. My second thought was worse, Jade. I called my bank right away. Not tomorrow, not after I cooled off, right then, while the charges were still fresh. I put the phone on speaker and opened a notepad because I've learned that if you don't write things down, you end up repeating your trauma to 5 different strangers for sport. After the usual robot menu, a real person picked up. "Thank you for calling. This is Talia. How can I help you?" "Hi," I said, keeping my voice even. "I'm seeing charges on my account I don't recognize. I need to dispute them and lock the card." She asked me to confirm my identity, then pulled up my account. "Okay," she said. "I see the charges. Let me check the card details." These transactions were made using a card issued to an authorized user. My stomach clenched. What authorized user? There was a quick pause, like she was surprised I didn't know. Ms. Jade Hart is listed as an authorized user on this account. I sat up so fast I almost knocked my water glass over. "No, she is not." "Yes, ma'am," she said gently. "She was added 11 months ago. A secondary card was issued to her and mailed to the address on file." The address on file. My parents' house. My skin went cold. I remembered it now. Last year, right before I went away for a long training cycle, Jade had called me crying. Not the "I'm sad" cry, the "I want something" cry. She said her debit card kept getting declined. She couldn't buy gas. She couldn't get groceries. She was embarrassed. She swore she had a job interview lined up, and she just needed a little bridge. I added her as an authorized user because I didn't want her stranded, and because I was about to disappear into a schedule where my phone would be locked away half the day. She promised she'd use it for essentials, and then we'd take her off once she was stable. I was naive, but I wasn't stupid. I told her the limit. I told her the rules. I told her it was temporary. And then I got busy, like people in the military do. I went to training. I came back. I got promoted. I ran my life on checklists. Somewhere in that chaos, I forgot to follow up. Apparently Jade didn't forget. "Talia, I said I need you to freeze that authorized user card immediately." "Absolutely," she said. "I can lock the authorized user card, and also lock your primary card if you'd like." "Lock hers," I said, "and dispute anything she charged today." She hesitated. "Since she's an authorized user, these charges may be considered valid. But we can still open an investigation and you can remove her from the account right now." "Do it," I said. A minute later, she confirmed it was done. I thanked her, hung up, and sat there staring at my phone like it had personally betrayed me. Then I texted Jade. "What are you charging on my account?" She replied so fast, it was like she'd been waiting. "Are you serious? You froze my card." My jaw tightened. "You were using my card." "Yeah," she wrote. "Because I needed stuff." Stuff, I typed back. "I'm looking at ride shares and online shopping." "Relax," she replied. "I was gonna pay it back." That sentence should come with a warning label. "I didn't ask for a roommate," I typed. "I asked you to stop." She sent back, "You have money, why are you acting a broke?" I stared at that message until the letters blurred. I didn't send a paragraph. I didn't lecture her about boundaries. I didn't beg her to understand. I wrote one line, "You're off the account." Then I blocked her number. I sat there for a second, waiting for the relief to kick in. It didn't. What I felt was this weird combination of disgust and embarrassment. Like I'd been scammed, but the scammer was someone who knows my middle name and used to steal my fries when we were kids. My phone started lighting up anyway, because blocking Jade doesn't block the rest of the family. Mom called. I let it ring out. Dad called. I let it ring out. Then a text from Mom. "Please answer. This is getting out of hand." Out of hand. Like I was the one stealing. I decided to call Dad back. Not because I wanted to argue, but because I needed one thing on record. I wanted to say the truth out loud to someone who couldn't pretend it didn't happen. He answered on the first ring, already angry. "What is wrong with you?" he snapped. "Hi, Dad," I said. "Jade has been charging hundreds of dollars to my account." I removed her card. "She was borrowing," he said immediately, like he'd practiced it. "No," I said. "Borrowing means you ask. Stealing means you don't." He scoffed. "Don't be dramatic." "Dramatic would be me sending this to the whole family group chat," I said. "This is me locking my bank account." Dad's voice got louder. She was getting groceries. "She used rideshare and online shopping," I said. "And I didn't authorize any of it." "You authorized her a year ago," he shot back. I took a slow breath. I authorized her for basic emergencies, not for whatever this is. "Family helps family," he said like it was a law. "Family doesn't run up my credit card because they're mad I won't hand them cash," I said. That's when he hit me with the line that always used to work. "You've changed, Lila. Ever since you got that uniform, you act like you're better than everyone." I almost laughed, but it came out sharp. "I don't act better. I act responsible." He went quiet for a second, then said, "Your sister's embarrassed." "Good," I said before I could stop myself. He inhaled like I'd slapped him. "Excuse me, she should be embarrassed," I said. "Because this is not okay." Dad lowered his voice, cold and dangerous. "You need to fix this. You're smart. You always figure it out." There it was. The family motto. Not will handle it, not will hold her accountable. Just you'll figure it out. I felt something go still inside me. Not anger, not sadness. Just the final click of a lock. "I already fixed it," I said. I removed her access. "You don't humiliate your sister," he snapped. "I didn't," I said. "She did." He hung up. I stared at the call screen, then at the ceiling. My apartment was quiet. No yelling, no drama. Just me and the humming fridge. And it hit me harder than the argument my parents weren't shocked she did it. They were shocked I stopped it. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from my bank confirming authorized user removed. It should have made me feel better. Instead, it made me feel stupid for ever thinking temporary meant anything to Jade. I got up and started changing passwords. Bank login, email, shopping accounts, everything. I turned on two-factor authentication, like my life depended on it, because honestly, my career kind of did. I also set a reminder for myself to pull my credit report in the morning. Because the truth is, in the military, financial mess can spill into your life fast. It doesn't matter if you're the victim. If your accounts look chaotic, people start asking questions. And I was not about to let Jade's impulse shopping create a problem for my chain of command. By the time I finished, it was almost midnight. I should have gone to bed, but my brain wouldn't shut off. It kept replaying one thought: if Jade was comfortable using my card like that, what else was she comfortable doing? I checked my email one more time before turning off the lights. And there it was, another automated notification, this one from a credit monitoring service I barely remembered signing up for. New activity detected. My chest tightened. I opened it, and the words on the screen made my mouth go dry. A recent inquiry had been made on my credit file from a lender I didn't recognize, tied to an application I never submitted. I stared at the credit alert like it was a typo I could will into disappearing. It didn't disappear. It got worse the longer I looked at it. The notification was plain and boring, the way automated emails always are when they're delivering the worst news of your life. A hard inquiry from a lender I'd never used. Date and time stamped. My name, my file. I hadn't applied for anything. I hadn't even clicked on one of those see if you pre-qualify ads because I'm not a raccoon digging through internet trash. I grabbed my laptop and pulled my credit report. My hands were steady, but my heart wasn't. There it was again, inquiry. One lender. Then, when the page refreshed, another review entry popped up like the system was updating in real time. I sat back on my couch and said out loud no, not in a dramatic way. More like I was talking to a stove that wouldn't turn off. I called the credit bureau first. The rep confirmed the inquiry and asked if I'd authorized it. No, I said. Then we can place a fraud alert, she said. And you may want to consider a credit freeze. Do both, I said. As she walked me through the process, she said something that turned my stomach. Sometimes when this happens, it's someone close to the consumer. A family member, someone who has access to your personal information. I didn't answer because my throat was tight. I didn't need her to say it. I could already see Jade's smirk in my mind. The same smirk from my parents' kitchen. When we finished, I wrote down every confirmation number she gave me. I thanked her, hung up, and immediately called the lender listed on the inquiry. The phone rang twice before a woman picked up. Thank you for calling. This is Marisol. How can I help you? Hi, I said. I'm calling because my credit report shows an inquiry from your company. I didn't apply for anything, and I need to know what this is. She asked for my name and the reference number. I gave it to her, and I heard her typing. Okay, she said. I see an application submitted online 2 days ago. 2 days ago. That meant while I was driving home and pretending not to choke on my mom's gravy. I didn't submit it, I said. Understood, she replied. The application lists a contact phone number ending in 1429. Is that your number? My mouth went dry. That wasn't mine. That was my parents' landline. I sat up. No, that's not my number. All right, she said, her voice shifting into a more serious tone. The application also lists an address in... She paused. Ohio. Is that your current address? It was my parents' address. My childhood address. The address Jade had been using like a mailing hub for whatever mess she was building. No, I said. That's my parents' home. Marisol took a breath. Okay, I'm going to flag this as suspected fraud. We'll open an investigation, and you may need to file a police report. Who submitted the application? I asked. She hesitated for a half second, like she knew what she was about to say would matter. The application was completed under your name, but the email address associated with it is... She read it out. Jade Hart followed by a bunch of numbers. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just felt my body go cold like someone turned the temperature down inside me. That's my sister, I said quietly. Marisol didn't say, oh no, or anything dramatic. She stayed professional. That almost made it scarier. Okay, then yes, ma'am, you'll want to file a report. Do you want us to close the application immediately? Yes, I said. Close it! And document that I called. I will, she said. You'll receive an email confirmation. When I hung up, my hands finally started shaking. Not because I was scared of Jade. Because of what this meant. This wasn't her running up my card because she felt entitled. This was her using my identity, my social security number, my credit history, the stuff you don't borrow, the stuff you go to jail for. And I'm in the military. In my world, your finances aren't just personal. They're part of your professional life. If you have unexplained debt, if your accounts look unstable, if you look like you're hiding something, it can raise questions. About responsibility, about judgment, about whether you're a risk. Jade didn't just mess with my bank account. She was messing with my career. I called her. I didn't text. I didn't email. I wanted to hear her voice when I said the word out loud. She answered on the second ring, sounding annoyed. What now, she said. What now, I repeated. You used my identity to apply for a loan. There was a tiny pause, like she was deciding which lie to use. Then she sighed. Oh my God, Lila, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down, I said. Did you use my information, yes or no? She made a little laugh. It's not like I robbed a bank. You put in an application under my name, I said. That's fraud. Relax, she said. I just needed a cosigner. You didn't cosign, I snapped. You impersonated me. She sounded offended now, like I'd accused her of cheating on a test instead of committing a felony. You're being so dramatic. I was going to pay it. That's not the point, I said. You don't get to decide I'll carry your debt. She scoffed. You have good credit. That's why it works. I felt my jaw lock. Did you hear yourself? She lowered her voice. Listen, if you make this a big deal, you're going to ruin everything. Everything, I said. What about me? You're fine, she said, like she was bored. You've got your little military job and your steady paycheck. Worst case, you can cover it. I stared at my wall like it might stop me from saying what I wanted to say. I'm not covering anything. Jade's tone sharpened. You're really doing this. I'm not doing anything, I said. You did it. She hissed. You're going to turn me into the bad guy. I let out a humorless laugh. Jade, you sprinted into bad guy territory all by yourself. Then I said the sentence she didn't think I was capable of saying. I'm reporting this. Her breath caught. You wouldn't dare. Yes, I would, I said. Because if I don't, you'll do it again. You're my sister, she snapped. How can you even think that? Because I'm looking at the proof, I said. It's attached to your email address. For a second, she went silent. Then her voice turned low, almost threatening. If you do this, don't expect anyone to forgive you. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't try to reason. I said goodnight, Jade, and hung up. I sat there in the quiet, staring at my phone. My chest felt tight like I'd swallowed a stone. Then my dad called. Of course he did. When Jade makes a mess, my parents show up like crisis managers. I answered because I wanted to hear how they were going to justify this one. Dad didn't even say hello. What did you say to your sister? I told her I'm reporting the identity theft, I said. He exhaled hard. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. I blinked. She used my information to apply for a loan. She didn't mean harm, he said, like he was talking to a toddler who spilled juice. She panicked. She didn't panic, I said. She planned it. She used your address and your phone number. Dad's voice hardened. We protect family. There it was. The whole philosophy. Not accountability. Protection. Like Jade is a precious artifact, and I'm the security system. I am family, I said quietly. Or do I not count? Dad didn't answer that directly. He just said, you need to think about what you're doing. You could ruin her life. I let out a slow breath. She's the one trying to ruin mine. Dad snapped. You're being selfish. I almost laughed again, because the word was so predictable, it could have been printed on a welcome mat. Dad, I said, I'm in the military. If my name is tied to financial fraud, it can mess with my entire career, my clearance, my assignments, my promotion, all of it. He paused like that was inconvenient information. Then he said, you'll figure it out. You always do. That line hit harder than the yelling. Because it wasn't just dismissive. It was the family job description they'd written for me years ago. Fixer, provider, cleanup crew. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I said no. I'm not figuring out something I didn't break. Then I hung up on my father. For the first time in my life, I hung up first. I opened a new document on my laptop and titled it Timeline. Simple, cold, professional. I started listing dates. The day Jade asked for money. The day I froze her card. The day the credit inquiry hit. The lender call. The email address tied to her. Every time my parents called, every text they sent. Then I went to the FTC site and filed an identity theft report. I saved the confirmation number. I printed it. I also pulled my credit freeze confirmations and saved those too. It was almost 2 a.m. when I finally shut my laptop. I sat on the edge of my bed in the dark, not feeling sad, not feeling angry, just aware. Aware that I'd crossed a line in my own mind. The line between my sister is irresponsible, and my sister is dangerous. My phone buzzed once more. A text from my mom. Please don't do anything tonight. Come home this weekend. We can talk this out like a family. Talk it out like a family. My hands were still as I read it, because I knew exactly what talk it out meant in my house. It meant they'd cry and Jade would apologize without admitting anything, and my dad would stare at the table, and then they'd ask me to make it go away. And I was done making things go away. I set my phone face down and got up to take a shower because I had PT in the morning, and the military doesn't care about your family's crimes. When I stepped out of the bathroom, my phone was lighting up again this time with a string of missed calls and one new voicemail from Jade, and I didn't even need to listen to know it wasn't an apology. I hit play on Jade's voicemail and immediately regretted it. Her voice was shaky, but not in a sorry way. In an angry way that was trying to sound wounded. Wow, Lila, I can't believe you. I needed help and you're acting like I'm some criminal. Call me back now. That was it. No apology, no explanation. Just the audacity of a person who thinks consequences are something that happens to other people. I deleted it, tossed my phone on the bed, and got dressed for PT like my life was normal. Because in the military, you can be dealing with identity theft and family chaos and still have to show up at 0:30, ready to run. The air outside was cold enough to sting. I stood in formation with everyone else listening to the same jokes, the same complaints, the same routine. I kept my face neutral. I kept my mouth shut. I did my miles. I passed my checks. I did the whole day like I wasn't carrying a grenade in my pocket. But the second I had a break, I checked my phone. 30 missed calls, mostly Mom. A couple from Dad. 3 from Jade, even though she was blocked. She'd found a way around it, calling from a different number. And then a text from Dad that made my eyes narrow. Help her or don't bother coming home. There it was. Not a conversation. A threat wrapped in family values. I stared at that text for a long time, and something quiet in me hardened. Not anger. More like I finally accepted the truth. They weren't asking what Jade did. They were deciding what I was allowed to do about it. I didn't respond. Instead, I did what I'd been doing since the night before. I kept collecting facts. I pulled my bank statements. I saved the lender email confirming the application was tied to Jade's address and email. I printed out the FTC identity theft report confirmation. I put everything in a folder, digital and physical. Because I don't trust I'll remember where I saved it. That's how you end up crying in a parking lot. Around lunch, Mom called again. I picked up because I needed to hear it directly. I wanted to be able to say I tried. She started sweet like always. Honey, are you okay? I'm handling it, I said. A tiny pause. Your sister didn't sleep last night. I almost laughed. Neither did I, Mom. She's terrified, Mom said. She made a mistake. She didn't make a mistake, I said. She used my identity. Mom's voice tightened. She was desperate. She was entitled, I said. There's a difference. Mom sighed like I was exhausting her. Lila, you don't understand how hard things have been. I do understand, I said. I've been paying for it. Don't say it like that, she snapped, then caught herself and went soft again. You know what I mean. We're family. We can fix this without involving the police. I leaned back in my chair and looked at the ceiling of the break room. How do we fix it, Mom? Be specific. She hesitated. Well, you could call the lender and tell them it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't, I said. You could withdraw the report, she tried again. Just so this doesn't follow Jade forever. It follows her because she did it, I said. Mom's voice went cold in that disappointed parent way that used to make me fold instantly when I was a kid. I never thought I'd see the day my daughter valued money more than her own family. I didn't take the bait. This isn't about money. It is about money, she said sharper now. Everything with you is money now. You used to have such a good heart. My mouth tightened. My heart is fine. My boundaries are new. Mom went quiet for a beat, then said the part she'd been building toward. Your father is very upset. I noticed, I said. He feels like you're humiliating us, she said. I almost choked. Me? Jade committed fraud, and I'm humiliating you. Mom ignored that. Please, Lila, come home this weekend. We'll all sit down, we'll talk. Jade will apologize. We can move forward. Move forward. Without accountability. Without consequences. Without telling the truth. I pictured that dinner in my head. Dad glaring, Mom crying, Jade playing victim, and me being told to make it all go away so everyone could keep pretending. No, I said simply. Mom gasped. Excuse me? No, I repeated. I'm not doing a family meeting. I'm not withdrawing anything, and I'm not taking responsibility for what she did. Her voice rose. So you're choosing this. You're choosing to tear this family apart. I kept my voice calm. Jade tore it. I'm just not taping it back together. Mom started crying, and for a second my chest tightened. Not because I felt guilty, because I recognized the sound. It was the sound that used to end every argument in this family. I let it hang for 2 seconds, then I said I love you, but I'm not doing this. And I hung up. My hands were shaking after. Not because I was scared of my mom. Because I finally said the thing the whole family system was designed to stop me from saying. No. That evening, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up, and a man introduced himself as an officer from the local police department in my hometown. The one where my parents lived. Sergeant Hart, he asked. Yes. I'm calling about the identity theft report you filed, he said. We need you to come in or submit a statement. We can also coordinate by phone, but we'll need documentation. My heart thumped once hard. This was real now, not just emails and credit alerts. Real paperwork. Real investigation. Okay, I said. What do you need from me? He explained the basics, proof of my identity. Proof I didn't authorize the loan application details about the suspect. He was polite, professional, and direct. When he said the word suspect, I felt a strange calm. That's what Jade was in this situation. Not a misunderstood sister. Not a stressed young woman. A suspect. After I got off the phone, I sat in my car for a long minute before driving home. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel happy. I felt clean. Like I'd finally stopped touching something toxic with bare hands. Then my phone buzzed. It was a screenshot sent from a cousin I barely talked to. It was a Facebook post from my mom. Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. Family isn't about blood, it's about loyalty. No names, no details, just enough for everyone in our small town to know who she meant. The comments were already piling up. Stay strong, Diane. You raised your kids right. Some people get a little success and forget their roots. And then Jade commented, love you, Mom. Some people just don't care about family anymore. I stared at my phone and felt my face go hot. Not from embarrassment, from disgust. They were turning my identity theft report into a character flaw. My sister steals my identity, and somehow I'm the villain. I wanted to comment. I wanted to set the record straight with one long, brutal paragraph and a few screenshots. I wanted to watch the comment section go silent, but I didn't. Because I'm not stupid. And because I've learned something in uniform, you don't win by yelling. You win by documenting, reporting, and letting people hang themselves with their own lies. So I took screenshots. I saved the post. I saved the comments. I saved Jade's line. Then I opened my laptop and added a new section to my timeline document, public smear. A few days passed. I kept my routine. Work, PT, paperwork, sleep, repeat. And in between, I handled the fraud cleanup like it was a second job. Credit freezes confirmed. Fraud alerts active. Bank accounts reviewed. Passwords changed again just to be safe. And still the calls came. Dad left a voicemail, his voice tight and furious. You think you're smarter than everyone. You think you can just call the cops and walk away. You're not welcome here if you do this. Mom sent a text, we're ready to forgive you when you're ready to stop punishing your sister. Forgive me. That word sat in my chest like a rock. The irony was so thick I could have spread it on toast. Jade, meanwhile, posted another story. This time, it was a selfie with red eyes and a caption about betrayal and choosing peace. Choosing peace. Coming from the same person who used my social security number like it was a library card. I didn't reply. I didn't engage. I kept moving. At the end of the week, I emailed the police department everything they asked for, statements, screenshots, lender confirmations, my FTC report number. I sent it all in a clean, organized package. I didn't add opinions. I didn't add emotions. Just facts. Then I got an email back confirming they received it and would be following up. I read that confirmation twice, then closed my laptop. I sat in the quiet of my apartment and realized something that made my stomach twist. Jade wasn't going to stop because I'd drawn a line. She was going to stop only if she was forced to. And people like Jade don't go down quietly. They swing for whatever hurts most. And for me, that wasn't my bank account anymore. It was my name, my reputation, and the military career I'd spent years building. Because the next morning, when I walked into work, my supervisor told me someone had called with concerns, and I needed to report to the office right away. I woke up before my alarm and reached for my phone like I was checking the weather, except the forecast was always stress. No new voicemails. No new anonymous emails. For a few seconds, that silence felt almost peaceful. Then I remembered my name was still on hold. I got through PT without anyone noticing anything was off. That's the funny thing about being fine in uniform. If your boots are clean and your answers are short, people assume you're solid. After formation, MS Jeant Pierce caught me again. He didn't waste time. Did you send your documents? Yes, MS Jeant. Good. Next step, he said, legal assistance. I blinked, JAG. He nodded, not to sue anyone. To protect your career. To make sure you do this clean. That was exactly what I needed, someone who thinks in policy and consequences, not emotions and family speeches. By lunch, I was sitting in a small office on base with a legal assistance attorney. A captain who looked about 12 years old until he started talking and suddenly sounded like your worst nightmare if you lied to him. He skimmed the documents I'd printed, the credit freeze confirmations, the FTC report number, the lender note tying the application to Jade's email, the bank letter confirming I removed her as an authorized user. He looked up. You did the right thing filing the FTC report and the police report. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. My family thinks I'm destroying her life. He gave me a flat look. Your family is not your chain of command. Fair. He leaned back. Here's what matters for your unit review. 1, you have documented fraud against you. 2, you responded promptly. 3, you're being transparent with your leadership. That protects you. I nodded. What about the anonymous complaint? He didn't smile, but his tone had a hint of sarcasm. Anonymous complaints happen. What matters is whether there's evidence. Based on what you've shown me, the evidence points away from you. I felt some tension loosen in my shoulders. He continued, also stop talking to your sister. I blocked her, I said. She keeps using new numbers. Then don't respond, he said. Save everything. If she escalates, that becomes part of the record. That word again. Record. Receipts. Paper trail. It was like the adult version of tell a teacher, except the teacher is your commander, and the consequences are real. Before I left, he gave me a simple checklist, the kind I actually love, because it doesn't ask how I feel. Keep a timeline with dates and times. Save all communication, including social media posts that reference you. Don't retaliate or engage publicly. If contacted again through work channels, notify leadership immediately. If there's continued identity theft activity, update the police report and credit bureaus. I thanked him and walked out feeling calmer. Not happy, calm. Like I had a plan that didn't depend on Jade suddenly developing a conscience. Back at work, the security manager asked me to stop by. He wasn't unfriendly, just direct. We received your documents, he said. They're thorough. Thank you, I said. He tapped a folder on his desk. A few follow-up questions. Do you have any joint accounts with your family? No, I said. None. Any co-signed loans? No. Any reason your sister would have access to your social security number? I didn't even have to think. She grew up with me. She knows my birthday, she's been in my parents' house where documents are kept, and she's had access to mail. He nodded like he'd heard that answer before. That's usually how it happens. Usually. That word made me want to scream. Like identity theft by family is just a normal Tuesday. He continued. Your credit freeze is good. If the person tries again, it should be flagged. Let us know if you receive any new notices. I will, I said. He looked at me for a second longer. Sergeant, I'm going to be blunt. Reviews like this can feel personal, but we're not here to punish you. We're here to protect the unit. I understand, I said, and I meant it. I wasn't mad at him. I was mad at Jade for forcing me into this room at all. The rest of the day was paperwork and meetings, but my phone kept buzzing in my pocket like it was allergic to peace. I didn't check it until I got home. 2 new texts from Mom. The first one, we can still fix this if you stop being stubborn. The second one, your father is heartbroken. Then a message from a number I didn't recognize. Tell your leadership the truth before they find out. I stared at it and felt my face go hot. That was a new tactic. Not begging, not guilt, threat. I forwarded it to myself, saved it, and added it to the folder. Then I opened Facebook only because I needed to know what story was being told about me in my hometown. I'm not proud of it, but I'm also not going to pretend I'm above doom-scrolling my own character assassination. My mom had shared another one of those vague posts that make people comment praying for you without having any idea what's going on. Some people confuse boundaries with betrayal. The comments were worse this time, because now it wasn't just strangers. It was people I knew growing up. Old neighbors, church friends, a teacher. Family first. Kids these days are so ungrateful. I hope she comes to her senses. My mother had basically opened a public court case and invited the whole town to be the jury. Jade had reposted it with a caption, "This is what happens when you say no to selfish people." Selfish people. I laughed out loud in my apartment alone like a maniac. Not because it was funny, but because the audacity was almost impressive. Jade steals my identity, and she's calling me selfish like it's a personality flaw. I took screenshots of everything, post, comments, date and time. Then I closed the app. I wasn't going to argue with a comment section. I was going to beat this with facts. The next morning, the security manager emailed me. We've completed the initial financial review. No derogatory activity noted. I read that sentence twice. No derogatory activity. In military language, that's basically a hug. I forwarded it to myself, filed it, and then walked into work feeling lighter. Not safe, lighter. Because I'd learned something in the last week, even when you're innocent, the process is stressful. But the process also has one advantage Jade didn't understand. It's not emotional. It doesn't care that she's my sister. It doesn't care that my mom is crying on Facebook. It doesn't care that dad thinks loyalty means silence. It cares about documentation. And I had more documentation than Jade had lies. That afternoon, Sergeant Pierce pulled me aside after a meeting. "You're doing fine," he said quietly. "Keep your head down." I nodded. "Do you think they'll clear the hold?" He didn't promise anything, because good leaders don't promise what they can't control. He said, "The truth is already doing most of the work." On the way home, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. I didn't answer. I let it ring out. A voicemail came in immediately. I listened to it with my thumb, hovering over delete. Jade's voice lower than usual, tight, like she was trying not to cry. "Lila, please, you don't understand what you're doing. If this goes through, I'm done. Like my whole life is done." I stared at the wall. That was new. Not anger, not mockery, fear. But it still wasn't accountability. It was panic. The kind people feel when consequences finally start walking toward them. My phone vibrated again, a new email notification from the credit monitoring service. For a second, my stomach clenched, expecting another inquiry. But when I opened it, it wasn't about a new loan. It was a notice that someone had attempted to change the contact information on my credit file email and phone, using details that weren't mine, and the system had blocked it because of the freeze. I sat down hard on my couch. Jade wasn't backing off. She was trying to lock me out of my own identity. I called the credit bureau back so fast, my phone screen blurred. The rep confirmed what the alert said. Someone had tried to change my contact info on my credit profile, and the system blocked it because my file was frozen. She asked if I wanted to add an extra security pin. "Yes," I said. "And I want notes added that I'm actively dealing with identity theft." She didn't argue. She sounded like she'd heard worse. When I hung up, I didn't feel panic anymore. Panic is what you feel when you think you can still control the situation by guessing. I felt focus. Jade wasn't just reckless. She was persistent. That meant I had to be more persistent. I emailed the security manager and kept it short. New attempted credit profile change blocked due to freeze. Documentation attached. Then I forwarded the alert to legal assistance, because that captain had told me one thing that stuck: if it escalates, you update the record. The next day, I walked into work and got that same careful look from people who think they're being subtle. Not everyone. Just a couple of coworkers. The ones who don't ask questions, but suddenly stop making eye contact. The ones who treat rumors like they're radioactive. That's what an anonymous complaint does, even when leadership handles it professionally. It plants a seed. And seeds don't need truth. They just need time. Sergeant Pierce caught it too. He leaned in and said, "Ignore the noise." "I'm trying," I said. He nodded toward my computer. "Keep doing your job. Let the process finish." I did exactly that. I stayed on task. I didn't gossip. I didn't rant to anyone in the break room. I didn't even mention the word Jade out loud at work, unless I was in an official conversation. That night, I got another anonymous email. Subject line: fraud. Body asked her about her government card. My stomach tightened. Government travel card. GTC. That's not a random accusation. That's a specific grenade. I hadn't touched a travel card in months. I hadn't had any misuse issues. But whoever wrote that email knew exactly which words could make a commander take a second look. I forwarded it, saved it, and added it to the folder. Then I got a text from Mom. "Your sister is falling apart. Can you please just be the bigger person?" Being the bigger person in my family has always meant being the quieter person. The one who absorbs the mess so everyone else can pretend things are normal. I didn't respond. A few minutes later, Dad texted, "We're not asking you to pay for everything. Just fix this before it ruins her." I stared at that line. Not fix this before it ruins you? Before it ruins her. I set my phone down and didn't touch it again that night. The next morning, I got called back into the office. Same 3 people. Same careful tone. But this time, the civilian had a printed copy of the email. "Sergeant Hart," he said, "we received a follow-up message." I didn't flinch. "I forwarded it to you last night." He nodded like he appreciated that. "Good." The content references potential misuse of government funds. "It's false," I said. "If you need documentation, I can provide it." Security manager glanced at his screen. We pulled your travel card history. No issues. No red flags. That should end it. Eight. But the civilian wasn't done. Do you have any reason to believe this is the same source as the earlier complaint? Yes, I said. My sister has escalated since I filed the identity theft report. She's trying different angles. First Sergeant leaned back. She understands that this affects your career. I let out a short laugh. She understands it affects my attention. That's what she wants. First Sergeant's mouth tightened slightly, like he didn't enjoy hearing that, but couldn't argue. All right. Keep doing what you're doing. Provide updates. And if you receive anything that directly threatens or harasses you, report it. Yes, First Sergeant. I walked out feeling weirdly calm, because now I had confirmation of something important. Leadership wasn't buying it. They were documenting it. Jade's smear campaign wasn't landing the way she hoped. That's when petty people get reckless. That afternoon, I got another call from an unknown number. I ignored it. They called again, then again, 5 times in a row. Finally, a voicemail came through. It was Jade. Her voice was tight fast, like she was talking while pacing. Lila, pick up. I know you're screening me. You think you're so smart with your little receipts. You're not going to ruin me and just walk away. I didn't reply. Then she texted from the same number. You told them lies about me. I know what you're doing. I stared at the screen. Lies, she used my email, my SSN, my parents' landline. If that was a lie, then gravity is optional. I didn't answer. I saved it. 2 hours later, another email hit my work inbox. Not from my official chain. From an external address. The subject line was my full name. That alone made my blood run cold. I didn't click anything. I forwarded it to security and my supervisor the same way I would if it were malware. Within 10 minutes, my supervisor pulled me aside. Sergeant Hart, she said quietly. Did your sister just email a civilian address on our unit's public contact page? My throat went tight. I don't know. What did it say? She didn't show me the full thing yet. She just said it's a complaint. Again. Of course it was. I felt that familiar anger rise, but I shoved it down. Anger makes you sloppy. Sloppy is what Jade wants. Sloppy is what gets you in trouble. I said I can provide proof she's the one escalating, and I can provide the police report case number. My supervisor nodded. Okay, we're handling it. But keep your personal situation separate from the workplace. I said, she's the one dragging it in. That night, I didn't sleep well. Not because I was scared she'd win, because I was tired. Tired of constantly being on defense. Tired of checking alerts like it's my second job. Tired of my own family treating me like a villain for not letting myself be robbed. I got up early, ran PT, and forced myself through the day. Around lunchtime, legal assistants called me back. Sergeant Hart, the captain said, I reviewed the new attempt on your credit file. Your freeze is doing its job. Keep it in place and continue to document. Understood, I said. He paused. Also, if she's contacting your workplace, that crosses into potential harassment. Not just family drama. Family drama. That phrase sounded small for what this was. Family drama is your aunt yelling at Thanksgiving. This was someone actively trying to sabotage my career. When I got home, I opened my folder and looked at everything I had saved. Text, voicemails, emails, confirmations, screenshots. It wasn't emotional anymore. It was a case file. I added one more document to it, a short statement describing how the anonymous complaints began after I refused to withdraw the identity theft report, and how the messages escalated in content and frequency. Then I printed it, because there's something about holding paper that makes it real. You can't gaslight a stack of documents. That night, my mom sent one more message. Your father and I are disappointed. We didn't raise you to treat family like enemies. I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back one sentence. I'm not treating family like enemies. I'm treating crime like crime. I didn't send anything else. I blocked her too. And the silence that followed was so sudden, it felt like stepping into a room after the music stops. For about 20 minutes, I actually thought Jade might finally back off. Then my phone buzzed with a new alert from my credit monitoring service. Another inquiry attempt blocked again. And at the same time, my supervisor emailed me a calendar invite with the subject line, Command-Directed Interview Complaint, Follow-Up. I showed up to the command-directed interview 5 minutes early, with a folder in my hands, and a calm face that didn't match the way my pulse felt. The conference room was small, plain, and too bright. First Sergeant was there again, along with the security manager and a different civilian. This one with a thicker binder, and the kind of expression that says he hates wasted time. "Sergeant Hart," First Sergeant said, "have a seat." "Yes, First Sergeant." The civilian flipped a page. "We're following up on the anonymous complaints and the additional contact attempts directed at unit channels." I nodded. "Understood." He looked over his glasses. "Do you still believe these complaints are retaliatory and connected to your sister?" "Yes," I said. "And I brought documentation." I slid the folder across the table. Inside was my whole life in paper form lender confirmations, the FTC report number, credit freeze confirmations, the bank's authorized user removal screenshots of the anonymous emails, and the text messages from unknown numbers that magically started sounding like my sister whenever I didn't respond. The civilian didn't react emotionally. He just started reading. That was the moment I realized I'd already won half the fight. Jade was throwing words. I was throwing evidence. Security manager pointed to one page. "This email came in on Tuesday. You forwarded it within minutes." "Good." The civilian tapped another page. "And this lender confirmation shows the application tied to an email address that includes your sister's name." "Yes," I said. He looked up. "Has your sister admitted to any of this in writing?" I didn't hesitate. I pulled out my phone and opened a screenshot I'd saved. Jade's text from earlier. "You have good credit. That's why it works." I slid my phone forward. "That?" The civilian's mouth tightened. "Okay." First Sergeant finally spoke again. "Sergeant, here's where we are. We've found no financial misconduct on your end. No travel card issues. No evidence supporting the accusations. Based on what we have, the complaints appear malicious." My shoulders loosened by an inch. He continued, "We're going to close the inquiry, and your name will be released back into the selection pipeline." I kept my face neutral, but inside I felt a jolt of relief so sharp it almost made me dizzy. "Yes, First Sergeant," I said. The civilian added, "We are also documenting the repeated harassment attempts. If additional contact occurs, report it immediately. We may refer it to the appropriate channels." Appropriate channels. That's military speak for this person is about to learn what consequences look like. I thanked them, stood up, and walked out of the room like I wasn't carrying a year's worth of pressure in my chest. When I got back to my desk, my email already had a message from the security manager confirming in writing, initial concerns resolved. No derogatory findings. I saved it, printed it, filed it. Because if you've learned anything from a family like mine, it's that people will rewrite history the second you stop holding proof in your hand. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt quiet. Because clearing my name didn't magically make my family reasonable. It didn't turn Jade into a good person. It didn't make my parents suddenly apologize. It just removed one weapon from their hands. That afternoon, my phone buzzed from a blocked number. Somehow, it still came through as voicemail. I listened and Jade's voice filled my ear, trembling with rage. "You think you're so slick. You think you can make me look crazy and everyone will just believe you. I hope you're happy." I deleted it without a response. 5 minutes later, Dad called from a new number. I almost ignored it, but curiosity got me. I answered. His voice was flat, almost rehearsed. "We need to talk." I kept my tone calm. "About what?" "About what you've done," he said. I almost laughed. "You mean what Jade did?" He sighed like he was tired of my facts. The police came by. My chest tightened. Not because I felt guilty, but because it meant the report had moved forward. "What happened?" I asked. "They asked questions," he said. "They embarrassed your mother." I stared at my wall. "Dad, they're investigating identity theft." "She made a mistake," he snapped. I kept my voice steady. "No. A mistake is putting salt in coffee. This was intentional." He went quiet for a beat. Then his tone shifted into something sharper. "Do you know what this is doing to her?" I answered honestly. "I do. And she did it to herself." Dad's voice rose. "You don't punish family like this." "I'm not punishing anyone," I said. "I'm protecting myself." He scoffed. "Selfish." There it was again. Like a stamp they could slap on anything I did that didn't serve Jade. I didn't argue. I said, "If you want to talk about the truth. Otherwise, don't call me." Then I hung up. That night I went for a run, not because I wanted cardio, but because movement is the only thing that drains adrenaline without making you say something stupid. I came home showered and tried to eat. My phone buzzed again with an email. It was from the lender. the one Jade tried to use. Fraud investigation update. They confirmed the application was officially marked fraudulent and removed from my record. No account opened. No debt attached to me. I stared at that email until my eyes stung. This was what winning looked like. Not fireworks. Paperwork. 2 days later, I got a call from the officer in my hometown. Same calm voice. Sergeant Hart, we're following up. We spoke to the individual you identified. I didn't ask who. I already knew. Okay. He continued. She denied it at first, but the documentation is strong. We also have records from the lender. My stomach turned not from sympathy, but from a kind of disbelief that Jade had really taken it this far and still thought she could talk her way out. The officer added, there may be a restitution component depending on how the prosecutor chooses to proceed. You may be contacted for a statement. I understand, I said. When I hung up, I sat on my couch and stared at my coffee table for a minute. I didn't feel happy that my sister might face legal consequences. I felt relieved that she couldn't keep doing this without anyone stopping her. That weekend, my mom sent a letter. A physical one like it was 98, and she wanted the drama to feel official. I opened it carefully. It was 2 pages of disappointment wrapped in soft words. She said she was hurt. She said she was confused. She said she didn't recognize me anymore. She said I was tearing the family apart over money. Not one sentence asked if I was okay. Not one sentence acknowledged what Jade did. Not one sentence said the words, identity theft. The closest she got was your sister is under a lot of stress. I folded the letter and set it down. Then I did something that would have shocked the old version of me. I didn't respond. I went to work Monday and kept my head down. My performance didn't dip. My attitude stayed professional. I didn't give anyone a reason to question me again. A few days later, Sergeant Pierce pulled me aside with that half smirk he does when he's trying not to be openly pleased. Holds lifted, he said. I nodded, keeping it casual. Yes, Emma Street. He looked me in the eye. Good job not melting down. I exhaled a laugh. I considered it. He tapped the folder in my hand. That's why you didn't. As I walked back to my office, my phone buzzed another unknown number. I didn't answer. I just let it go to voicemail. This time it wasn't Jade yelling. It was Jade crying. Lila, please. They're saying I could get charged. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Just tell them you exaggerated. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding. I stared at the voicemail screen and felt a strange calm settle over me. Because that right there was the whole story. She didn't say I'm sorry. She said save me. I deleted it, opened my laptop, and started updating my incident folder one last time, adding the confirmation that the inquiry was closed and the hold was lifted. Then I moved on to something I hadn't been able to focus on for weeks, my housing paperwork. I'd been putting off my VA loan pre-approval steps because my credit situation had been under attack. Now my file was clean. My documents were in order. And for the first time in a while, I could think about my future without my sister's shadow sitting on it. That evening, as I was gathering the documents, I needed pay stubs, proof of service bank statements. An email came in from an address I recognized immediately. Not Jade, my parents. Subject line, we need to meet. I didn't reply to the email right away. I just stared at the subject line until it stopped feeling like a command. We need to meet. Not, how are you? Not are you safe, not we're sorry. Just another attempt to pull me back into their favorite role for me, the one who shows up, absorbs the damage, and fixes it. I closed my laptop, set my phone face down, and finished gathering my VA loan paperwork. Pay stubs, proof of service, bank statements, the boring stuff that builds a life. The next morning, I sat across from a loan officer in a small office near base housing. She walked me through the steps with the kind of calm professionalism I wish my family had ever shown me. We'll review your income, your credit, and your debt-to-income ratio, she said. From what you sent, you look solid. I almost smiled. That's my favorite compliment. She laughed politely, like she didn't know she'd just given me a tiny piece of my identity back. Solid, stable, clean. A week later, I got official confirmation my pre-approval was good. My credit report was clear. The fraudulent inquiry had been removed. The freeze and alerts were still in place, and the added PIN meant nobody was changing my profile without me knowing. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without waking up and checking my phone. And then my family tried one last time. Dad called from a new number. I recognized the area code immediately and let it ring. He left a voicemail. His voice was different, less angry, more controlled. the voice he used when he wanted something. Lila, this has gone too far. Your mother's not doing well. Your sister's scared. We need to meet and talk like adults. Talk like adults. I deleted it. Mom followed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Please, just coffee. No fighting. No fighting. That was funny, because they'd been fighting me for weeks while I stood still. I didn't answer. Instead, I went back to work and focused on what I could control. My performance, my reputation, my future. A few weeks after the hold was lifted, I got my official update from leadership. I was back in the selection pipeline, and my packet was moving forward. No stain, no pending, no shadow. MS Chint Pierce pulled me aside with that same half-smirk. You're tracking, he said. Yes, MSG. He nodded once. Good. Keep it boring. Keep it boring. In the military, boring is a compliment. Boring means you're dependable. Boring means nobody is writing your name in a complaint box. I didn't realize how much I needed that normalcy until I had it again. Then on a random Thursday, the officer from my hometown called me back. Sergeant Hart, he said I wanted to update you. The case moved forward. My chest tightened. Okay. He explained it in careful professional terms. There was enough evidence from the lender records and the identity theft documentation to proceed. Given it was a first-time offense, and no loan actually funded under my name, the prosecutor was offering a deal that focused on restitution and supervision rather than jail time. Translation: Jade wouldn't get to walk away pretending it never happened, but she also wasn't going to get a dramatic perp walk like she deserved in her own imagination. There would be probation. There would be required restitution payments tied to administrative costs and any disputed charges. There would be restrictions. And there would be something Jade hates more than anything else on earth: oversight. When I hung up, I didn't feel joy. I felt relief. Because this wasn't revenge for me. It was containment. A few days later, Mom emailed again. This time, the subject line was softer. Please read. I opened it once because I'm human. It was the same script with different formatting. She wrote about how she missed me, how she never expected the police to be involved, how Jade was learning from this, how families make mistakes, how she hoped we could heal. Still no I'm sorry. Still no we were wrong. Still no acknowledgement that Jade tried to sabotage my military career. It was all framed like a weather event happened to us. Like a storm blew in and I selfishly refused to share an umbrella. I replied with one sentence. I hope you're all safe. I'm not meeting. Please stop contacting me. Then I blocked the email address. I know how that sounds. Cold, harsh, like I'm heartless. But here's what I learned: you can't negotiate boundaries with people who think your boundaries are an insult. Around that time, I found a small house within driving distance of base. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a little fenced yard that needed work. The kind of place that smells like fresh paint and potential. When I walked through it with the realtor, she asked, "What do you think?" I looked at the empty living room and said, "I think it's quiet." She laughed, thinking I meant the neighborhood. I meant my life. I put in an offer. It got accepted. The inspection came back clean enough that I didn't feel like I was buying a problem in disguise. The closing date landed on a Friday. On that Friday, I wore civilian clothes, signed a stack of papers, and got a set of keys that didn't come with strings attached. I sat in my car afterward and just held them for a minute. Not crying, not smiling like a movie scene, just breathing. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I shouldn't have answered. I did anyway, because part of me still had that old habit of bracing for impact. It was Jade. Her voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Not sweet, not sarcastic, just tired. They told me I have to pay, she said like she was talking about a parking ticket. And I have to do classes. And probation. I didn't respond. She took my silence as permission to keep going. Mom and Dad are freaking out. They're saying you did this on purpose. On purpose. I almost laughed. Jade, I said you did this on purpose. Her breath caught. You don't get it. It's ruining my life. I kept my voice level. No, it's revealing it. She went quiet for a beat, then the old Jade tried to crawl back in. So you're happy now. You got what you wanted. I looked at the keys in my hand. I didn't want to win, I said. I wanted peace. She made a sound like she wanted to argue, but she didn't have any clean angle left. No sarcasm, no guilt. No family speech that made sense after what she'd done. She hung up. I sat there and felt nothing dramatic. No triumph. No sadness. Just a clean line drawn in permanent ink. That night, I walked into my new house alone. I set my keys on the counter. I turned on the lights. I stood in the living room and listened to the silence. Not the lonely kind, the safe kind. In the weeks that followed, my life got boring in the best way. Work gym home projects, paperwork for the new place. My promotion process moved forward without drama. The inquiry was closed and stayed closed. My credit stayed frozen and protected. I didn't check alerts like a nervous habit anymore. I checked them like a responsible adult. Every once in a while, a new number would try to call. A new email would slip through. I didn't answer, I didn't explain. I didn't argue. Because my family revenge story didn't end with me exposing anyone online or screaming in a courtroom. It ended with me refusing to be the family's emergency fund scapegoat and cleanup crew. I didn't need them to understand. I just needed them to stop having access to my life. If you've lived through anything like this, or you're trying to set boundaries in your own family, subscribe to the channel. I post more real grounded family revenge stories like this, and I'd love to have you here. 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 Love to have you here.